Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silver Tears Tarot. We're here today to answer another question that came in through an email. And so I get these emails from several of you who share some portion of your story with me, and then you often have a question embedded in there. And this is one that I've definitely seen a couple of times, but most recently it came in attached to a story, and it felt like the question was almost rhetorical. But I think we're going to go ahead and look into it here and just compare previous readings with what we see today, because we know these are all connected. So again, it'll be a general reading as usual, but general for this collective. So of course it's not going to resonate with everybody, but if it does resonate with you, you might want to consider whether or not you might want to check out some other messages from this collective. So maybe check those out, maybe think about subscribing. And so we're going to go ahead and, like I said, we're going to go ahead and jump in with this question. So the question is, what really came in was whether or not your person senses how you feel. Okay. And we've seen in previous readings that they do, but they don't necessarily want to focus on it. There's a lot of effort made not to focus on it. But there is some level of awareness. So I guess what we want to look into is maybe that next deeper level of what is that level of awareness that they have? How much do they sense how you feel? So we'll start with looking at that energetic backdrop like we always do. And this gets us an idea of the context in which to take the rest of the reading, right? And so if you see kind of the energy that's happening on a given day, it's helpful. It's helpful to understand. And this is exactly the sort of reason. So here we have Shams, which is the equivalent of the sun. Coming here in reverse, it's the sense of a missed opportunity. And this could be an old one. This could be an opportunity that feels like it was missed quite some time ago. It feels like it is very much in the shared energy. So it's not just you, not just them. It's a feeling of nostalgia mixed in with that feeling of having just missed an opportunity. Maybe feels like there's not much you could have done about it, but definitely a missed opportunity. And there, I take that back because I think there is some level of guilt for not having done something. I don't feel like that's you, so I'm thinking that must be your person. There's a bit of a struggle, and this feels like that existential struggle today. The bond between the two of you is actually part of what's helping to keep your feet on the ground, which sounds unusual or sounds like it might be a little bit strange, but put into context, the bond between the two of you, it's incredibly strong. It's incredibly significant. It's also something that got in on the ground floor. And so it's part of your overall foundation. And it feels like with the struggle that you're feeling, and this has got this existential struggle feel to it. The two of you when it gets down to it, the two of you help each other out through existential struggles, even though it's not working out so much in the physical realm to be that way. So I do get the sense that you're kind of holding on to each other from that standpoint, but there's a sorrow and a bit of a shame, maybe more on their part, about having missed an opportunity, and there's a sense of existential struggle. Maybe a concern about time. Oh, we do want this one. Maybe a concern here about time that has gone by. Feels like time went by too quickly, missed opportunity. Those are the kinds of things coming out from over there. There's also a lack of healing. So it's healing that's going to help to bring this through. And I get the strong sense, this has been showing up in my meditation over the last day or so as well. And the email came in even sooner, even earlier than that. So I can't always get to your emails and your notes same day. There's a lot of volume that comes in. And I know you guys understand that, but I'm saying that to say that this note came in a couple days even earlier than that. And so when I saw it and started to realize, no, I need to move on it, and got it into the queue, it's been a couple of days. But I've been noticing in my meditations here over the last couple of days, there's this strong sense of that existential struggle. And it seems like the root of it is around the passage of time, nostalgia, nostalgia, concern about not being able to recoup something. Here, though, the other half of it comes out. It ends up being a lack of healing around attachment. And it causes you to maybe want to jump in and think about your levels of attachment to people and situations. I'm going to do a reading that talks about the meditation mantras because I've got one around attachment that I think is going to be really beneficial. I quote it often in these readings, and I also had somebody who came through and asked if I might do a video that talks a little bit about those mantras. So I'm wrapping my mind around what that might be like. But I will put out a video of the mantras, or that at least incorporates the mantras, and I'll call people's attention to it because I mention it all the time. Those mantras are the answer to a lot of things that ail us, and that existential struggle around time passing has to do with not wanting to lose things and feeling an attachment to things. So it is very much connected, but it's a healing that needs to happen there. So it's not something that just because that happens overnight. There is a desire for social engagement on some level in this energy. Interesting, because I get that there's also a sense of wanting to stay away. And it's implicit within this card, actually. It's implicit within the Three of Cups, saying there's a desire to get out there. There's also a desire not to get out there. They're at odds, but it seems like when the desire to get out there happens, you're just gonna take it and go, which is gonna be a good thing. It's gonna ultimately end up being an opportunity to seize the day, and it's very much what's needed in this energy of feeling like there's a lost opportunity or a missed opportunity. You've got the King of Pentacles coming out in the shared energy, and this I think is an incredibly positive thing. So the King of Pentacles is it's a feeling of being sure of yourself, feeling like you deserve the notoriety that you have. So the energy for today is really, I would say it's not a bad energy. We've got the Hermit that's come out. There's that desire to kind of stay in, that I feel that's opposing this Three of Cups desire to get out and see other people. There's a desire to stay in, but it's a desire to stay in and kind of get aligned, because there's not been much opportunity to do that lately. We've seen this, and so this is something that strikes on both you and your person's part. Whether or not you end up getting out and doing something, and this would be individually, not necessarily with one another, but whether you're able to work through these two cards being at odds, like I don't know who wins. It may be that one of you gets out and sees people, and the other one stays home and kind of hangs out, keeping things quiet. But there's definitely a struggle between the two of those things, and it seems like it's fueled by this struggle over here. The Queen of Pentacles coming out in reverse next to where we have the King of Pentacles over here. It's significant because we talked about that King of Pentacles and that good feeling. That's a masculine energy that is in nice balance. The energy of deserving and feeling pretty solid about things. This is the feminine version of that, and it encompasses self-worth. With it being a little bit depressed like this, the way that I'm seeing it, it's definitely something to think about. It feels like it's a perception that it's necessary to be aware of, but not necessarily something that is going to create problems for you. And then we have the High Priestess, and I think then we're done with the basic energy, that energetic backdrop of kind of that energy you're swimming in today. The High Priestess talks about meditation and the value of it. It can be meditation, it can be prayer, but it's going to be connection to that higher self and to that higher power. You are heavily encouraged to engage in that today if you have the opportunity to do so. It's going to be good and bring you some good messages if you're open to receiving the messages. That's what that was fairly prescriptive and not usually what comes out in the energetic backdrop. So just noticing that, I think it's kind of interesting that we got a lot of information here that sounded more like advice, which I think is what I'm more likely to ask for over here, but I will never be complaining about it coming out a little bit earlier in the process there. So grab something. All right, so our next question is going to be around how much they are able to sense how you feel. So we've noted in previous readings, like I said, that there is some awareness to how you feel, but it's not necessarily like they're going through their own things. They're having their own journey. And so Their awareness about how you feel will be very much in the context of how they're seeing things. It's within the context of their perspective. So being aware of how you feel, being aware that you're feeling a way that creates a lot of waves, yes. Being aware of the finer points of that, that's what we're here to find out. So how much are they able to sense how you feel? And keeping in mind, we may see resistance to that come out, because we've seen a lot of that resistance overall to thinking things through, to being part of the real solution and finding a way back to one another. So you've got the Son of Cups. That is, okay, so the Son of Cups is like the equivalent of the Knight of Cups in the traditional tarot. And this would suggest they have a pretty decent idea of how you're feeling. And at least that they're able to guess. Now, they may be overthinking it and guessing too many things. Well, I thought we had that one, but we don't. Sometimes when they come out turned over, I still feel like we need to add them to the reading. Not that time. All right, so we've got the Seven of Pentacles. There's regret here. So not always what I get from this card, but it's a regret for not having invested. That's what I get here. So they're aware. There's some shame around this. There's a little bit of shame around not having invested and having missed the opportunity. That's part of what they're reliving over here. When they think about missed opportunities, you are one of the thoughts that comes up. So we've got some reluctance. This is reluctance rather than resistance. It's like being afraid to jump, being afraid to do something, but also having a little bit of a cushion of like a depressive disassociation to lean back on. So you have a reason not to jump because it's easy for you to just kind of feel like it wouldn't be worth jumping anyway. And then with the Seven of Cups, there's a recognition of having, this is how you end up missing an opportunity in an energy like this. So your person has basically realized that they have multiple opportunities that have been available to them. And some of these opportunities, though, it's not super clear whether they are long-term opportunities, whether they will always be there, whether they are things that they need to grab relatively quickly, which things can be done together, what's mutually exclusive, things like that. And without those answers, it's difficult for them to know how to navigate. They did not get to a place where they have found these answers, and so there's still a lot of confusion here with what they're able to accomplish and what kind of what the rules of engagement are. So they feel like they didn't invest, that much is clear, but they also feel like they didn't ever really understand the rules of engagement, I guess. Okay, so let's see. We still have this Five of Pentacles. And this Five of Pentacles talks about, so we've talked about the big three things that come up when we see the Five of Pentacles in these readings a lot of times. And so the Five of Pentacles, the nature of it is a door that is closed to you, but you are able to open it. You're the one that would bring the key to this. And what we typically see come out with this is historic abandonment issues, fears around rejection, betrayal, concerns. These are the things that come out with the Five of Pentacles in these readings. Today, it's no exception, and really what it's showing us is kind of that Four of Swords in reverse. Bounces right off of that Four of Swords and says, here are the things that you're not yet healed from. And that's a relatively powerful feeling because it's not such a coherent feeling. So again, they recognize, they even feel a kinship. And it's not just because of this feeling over here with the Lover's card of the two of you being connected right now that's kind of helping to buffer the blow of feeling like there's a missed opportunity here. It's not even just that. There's this feeling overall that you are part of what has helped to keep them focused a little bit. Now, in some cases, they haven't wanted to be focused and they've worked really hard against that. But you've brought out the reminder as well as the solution to some of this pain. And so all of these are kind of feeling like they're very much, I'm glad we got the energetic backdrop. And I always am, but especially on a day like this, where today's energetic backdrop is really helping to clarify almost the reading that we're getting for how much they sense how you feel. Because there's a lot of them sensing it, but there's a lot of them not knowing how to take it or taking it wrong. There's a sense of them being afraid to jump in, afraid to contact you, afraid to do something that's going to create that level of complexity. Interesting. That's a strong feeling coming out. There's a lot of fear, but the fear, it's like skittishness fear, and it makes them run away and hide. You have the Six of Cups. They can run. They can sort of hide. They can hide from you. They can block you. They can choose not to communicate, and you choose to also keep quiet because it's not necessarily going to benefit you, because we've gotten the message before in the past that it would essentially work to reset it would hit reset on both of your healing, but neither of you can stop thinking of one another, and this is them not being able to stop thinking about you. That's something that we've seen time and time again, but they really resist against that a lot of times. And it's part of that Page of Swords, Page of Wands in reverse energy that we have over here. That's what's giving them that layer of almost depression to fall back on. And whereas it doesn't seem like depression is super convenient in any sense, I will say that what I mean when I say that is that they're able to make an excuse to themselves why they're not reaching out, and they can say, well, I'm not in the best psychological place to do that right now. There is a sense of movement, of something that needs to move. They've got this potential energy that's revved up inside of them that feels like it needs to come out, but they aren't figuring out exactly where it's supposed to go. This could potentially be, they dabbled for a little bit in something that could have helped to light their soul on fire, because both of you have that need, but they didn't go very far with it, or it has started to fizzle out already. There is definitely some lack of clarity for them about how to move forward and how to keep things moving. That's part of what's coming out in their energy as well. But the thing is that when they had this this thing that they were kind of following, and they were starting to engage in it, this energy that wants to bubble up and come out, they were allowing it a little bit of a release. And it wasn't a person, it was more like a hobby. For many of them, I think it was hobbies, but it was something that maybe even a new project at work, but it started to kind of fizzle out. That light that was happening was starting to sort of light the way to understanding you a little bit better, and with a little bit less of the overthinking. But with that fizzling, I'm noticing that the mystery is starting to set in again a little bit. So their clarity with regard to what you're thinking and feeling is not super high. They can feel the intensity of it and kind of the absolute value, the magnitude of it, but they're not able to necessarily discern the nature of your feelings. And so they might know that you're feeling sad. They may not really be able to understand kind of what's behind that or what's happening there. They've got the Ace of Wands, though. This comes out as hope to me. So it's not the Star card. It's not, a card that usually comes out as hope specifically, but it is around this Knight of Swords and this moon. So recall that the Ace of Wands is the card that often has come out for us to talk about that thing that's going to set your soul on fire. It's also what helps to light the way for your person to be a little bit better with the empathy toward you. Because what's missing here is they've got some empathy, but they haven't necessarily been able to connect it and make it something that they can use. Again, we've seen in the past that they have learned a lot of lessons with you, but they've had a real hard time putting some of these lessons into play. So it's not surprising, but it does go right along with it. So ultimately, we really want them to jump back into that hobby, or to spend time on whatever it is that's helping to it's helping to almost cleanse their energy and make it a healthier amount of energy that they're spending on you. Even if some of the energy they're spending on you, a lot of it is trying to be resistant, this causes them to be less of that, less resistant, and more when they come back to think about you, because they can't help but do so, when they come back to think about you, the thinking, it enables them to have looser feelings instead of being so tightened up. And it's like they've almost trained themselves to think about these things in such a way that makes them want to run away. This allows that to break, that training to break down a little. I hope I'm making that clear. I think when we get into the extended, we got to look into this a little bit more to get a feel for how they're feeling about this, because they're able to sense a little bit of what's happening with you, but they're having a hard time allowing the empathy to come in, except for when this Ace of Wands is lit up, and that's when they're doing something that's really exciting, that excites them and starts to redirect their energy a little bit. It reminds them of you in some way. This is so much like what we talked about doing for you. So we're going to get deeper into that. And we're also going to actually just dig in and get a little bit of a sense of their emotions here, because with this over here, it feels like a little bit of a softening compared with what we've seen over the last couple days. So let's look on the focus for you. Given what we see in the rest of the reading, we've got the Two of Staffs. All right, so this is a time for you to... We'll see what this means, why the Two of Staffs is here, but this is fire energy. It's like the Two of Wands, and it talks about sometimes we see it as travel, and sometimes we see it as emotional distance that needs to be traveled. You are ready to do some traveling of an emotional distance, but this is really about making sure that the stage is set for you. Let's see what happens here. I got a really breath of fresh air. Whew, yes, breath of fresh air sort of feeling when I look at this Two of Staffs. It doesn't give me stress like it does sometimes when it comes out. Coming out in this position, you never know, but I think this is fantastic what we're seeing here. There's a truth. The Ace of Swords. This is a truth that you've been presented with. You have decided to subscribe to it, like you're jumping in with both feet here. And this is really fantastic energy. The Chariot is in reverse. You are stopping everything in order to make a change that needs to be made. So, okay, stopping everything to make a change that needs to be made. Interesting. We've got the Seven of Wands, and I think we need this one too. Yeah. We've got the Seven of Wands that has come out here in the reverse. There's going to be some doubt as you're jumping in to make this change, because this is really like you really have to lock up the brakes in order to change direction here. And there's a little bit of doubt, but you end up going. You end up jumping. So I knew we needed to keep this, but I didn't see what the card was, and I intentionally didn't really... I put the other one in the way, so I didn't look at it because I wanted to focus on the one that was in my hand. And so I see a little bit of a lack of confidence knowing that there's danger out there, but also you know, it's just a reminder that you, in this case, have the high ground. You're going to have the moral high ground, and you're going to go ahead and jump. I get the sense that you will go ahead and jump. So we've got over here this, am I going to the social situation, or am I going to hang out in the cave? You may be the one that goes to the, and maybe both of you do, but it feels like you go to this, you go to the social situation, and it ends up being something positive for you. So none of these cards wanted to be used in the reading. They just all happened to fall out on top of everything. Let's see what else wants to come out as we look at places for you to focus. So this is just a really clean energy. It's we're going to look farther into this when we get into the extended as well. So it's going to be what's happening with you, what's happening emotionally with your person, and a little bit more about what they're able to sense and how you feel. What else we need to know about that? You have finally got this Six of Swords. That is energy slowing down enough emotionally so that you can start to make something of it. You have this Eight of Pentacles jumping back out here. It came out earlier. It was the only one of the ones that kind of splashed out there that felt like maybe it was supposed to be part of the reading, but I think it's supposed to be right here, because this is going to be It's that feeling of being where you're supposed to be. That's really what happens with that. It's an emotional self-mastery, but it feels like self-protection. You've got a Knight of Cups, which is you being able to kind of you're going to, I think, as you move into this new energy, you're going to spend a little bit less time hyper focused on the energy of your person and a little bit more time focused on the energy of yourself, and it's going to go in a positive way. Just watch out for the tendency toward codependence. There may still be some codependent type behaviors that are lingering for you, so be watching for those. We are definitely going to look more into this when we get into the extended. Maybe phrase it more as the bridge question to kind of take a step back, because this is what you want to focus on right now. This super clean feeling, this clean, energetic feeling that you're coming into. And then, like I said, we'll look at your person's emotions and a little bit more of what we need to know about how they sense how you feel, because there's definitely some of that, but it's how are they able to get through the empathy has a lot to do with this Ace of Wands light. So I'll see you there. If you want to join me in the extended, the link is down below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again in tomorrow's reading.